Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Cloud, and welcome to my Locals Retro for week 2 of the OP11 Meta. After some adjustments from last week, and some new cards that I wanted to try, we are back with Green Yellow Yamato for this week. So let's just head into the deck list. As usual, I'll just be highlighting some of the key cards and strategies for this overview, but if you'd like me to go into a full deck list breakdown sometime, let me know in the comments below. And here's my deck list for week 2 of the OP11 Meta. For the most part, the majority of the deck list is the same as last week, so I'm only going to be going over what I've changed. But if you'd like to hear more about this deck list, please go check out my week 1 retro video where I go more in depth about the core idea behind what I put into my deck. But let's just move on to the changes. The first change I made is that I removed 5-cost Yamato from last week. It's a really cool card that has Banish and Double Attack already in it, plus it's a 1k counter, but I didn't find many opportunities to actually play it, and so it often was just a 1k counter in hand, and so I said, if I'm not going to really be playing it, I might as well cut it from the deck. There's another card I removed, and that is the You Can Be My Samurai. You Can Be My Samurai is a great draw tool for the deck, but I decided to cut it to try to make room for some other cards, which results in a lack of card draw for this deck. So with less cards to draw, the first thing you might notice is that I went up to 4 copies of Hody Jones. Since I'm not going to be drawing as often, I just wanted to ensure that I would be able to find Hody Jones in my games, hence why I bumped it up to 4. Additionally, I replaced my one of beloved event cards, 9 Flash, for this new one, Gum Gum Elephant Gatling. This card is a 1-cost event that has 2 effects. The first one is main. You may rest up to one of your Dawn cards, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Otherwise, you can use it as counter. Up to one of your leaders gains plus 3000 power during this battle. This card is really great because for 2 Dawn, I can rest a 5-cost, which is the same as the 9 Flash, but with 9 Flash, you have to rest one of your own 3-cost in order to rest a 5-cost. I do lose out on the plus 3k, but this card is just much easier for me to use, and when I'm looking to just try to rest some of my opponent's blockers, which I often am in order to get my leader attack off, only having to pay 2 to rest a 5-cost is really good. Especially when you consider that like Izo, 3 costs to only rest a 4 costs. It's really nice being able to rest a 5 cost for only 2 Dawn. And then worst case scenario, I can just leave a Dawn up just to give my leader plus 3k if needed. So I really like this card, put in 2 over the 9 Flash. Additionally, I decided to up the count of the You're the One Who Should Disappear from 2 to 4. This is because last week, I think I ran into a lot of scenarios where I was seeing a lot of my bricks or my top end, and it just meant I have no counter. And so I wanted to have a way to be able to convert those bricks into counter, especially when this deck doesn't have any ways to filter my hand like other decks do. This card comes in clutch. Being able to trash 1 card from my hand and then give up to one of my leaders or characters plus 3k for 0 Dawn is amazing. Not to mention that the trigger is just also amazing. If you have 0 life cards, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, then trash 1 card from your hand. This card is amazing to be able to potentially live for 1 more turn, especially if I can set it up with Kozuki Hiyori. Finally, you might have seen it, the one card I am testing in this deck is the 10-cost Law and Beppo from Starter Deck 24. Law and Beppo is a 10-cost 11k power slash and strike character that says, on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters, and that character will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. Then, if your opponent has 2 or more rested characters, your leader gains plus 2000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So, this is a really good top end. I actually like it a lot. Not only do I establish a really big body that's hard to remove, this essentially acts as a way for me to rest any blocker, regardless of costs. It doesn't have to be a blocker, but I always usually talk about blockers because Yamato struggles to deal with that, especially when I'm trying to just go in for these double attack swings. Having a way to just rest anything and freeze it is really good. Of course, your opponent needs to have another rested character for that to happen, but actually, you don't need an extra character. You can just rest it and it'll be frozen. But if your opponent does have 2 or more rested characters, your leader gains plus 2000 power. So during my turn when I'm attacking, I can attack for 7k, and then during my opponent's turn, they would have to deal with a 7k base leader for 1 turn. So really liking the card, being able to freeze something, and then make my leader 7k and then establish a big body, just sounds great. So it was a card that I wanted to test out for this week. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the changes. Excuse me there. Here's the full deck list already on screen for you to view again, and you'll be able to find this deck list in the description below. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and throw up my last week deck list and this week's deck list on screen so that you can see the comparisons that I just talked about. Shout out to Eggman for this deck builder. You can find it on his website at Eggman Events. So how did we do for week 2 of the OP11 meta? We had 20 players, 4 rounds, and I went 1-3. Here were my matchups. Round 1 was against Red Rononoa Zoro. Round 2 was against Red Yellow Bello Betty. Round 3 was against Green Purple Monkey D. Luffy. And round 4 was against Green Yellow Yamato. Against Red Zoro, I won. Against Red Yellow Bello Betty, I lost. Against Green Purple Luffy, I lost. And against Green Yellow Yamato, I lost. In order to keep this video on the shorter side, I'm not going to review each matchup right now, but I'll be posting all of my matchups, win or loss, with my VOD review following this video. So be sure to check it out. Now, let's talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and what's next for me. What went well? Despite my 3 losses, I'm actually really happy with how I played this week. I felt like I was getting better at formulating a game plan against my opponent and trying my best to execute it on each of my turns. The best way I can describe it is that I felt in control of my plays rather than just feeling lost and doing things without considering the game state. I was also really glad that I actually got to test the new cards I added to my deck. This is because sometimes when I bring a new deck list to locals, I have cards in the deck that I just never see, so I can't determine how well it'll do in an actual game. But this week, I got that opportunity, and now I can better evaluate whether or not I like it in the deck list. And finally, this is kind of a small thing, but I am loving my little indicator that I built to show if I'm going first or second. What didn't go well? Despite loving the card and it being the key to my 1 win this week, the Law and Beppo just didn't work out as much as I hoped it would. In my matches, there wasn't often a good time for me to play it, and when I did have the opportunity, I realized that having to use all 10 Dawn was really taxing on my ability to make impactful plays. Sure, my leader could be at 7k power, but comparing that to maybe using some Dawn to play a Momonosuke or a Hody Jones for rush, or maybe using a couple Dawn to set up an Izo blocker, or using whatever remaining Dawn I have to maybe go for a larger leader swing, it was clear that using all 10 Dawn for Law and Beppo was not the play at the time. At least in this version of the deck list, Law and Beppo just didn't feel too great, and it ended up being a brick in hand. Speaking of bricks, throughout my matches, I often found myself in a really bad position because I was just drawing a lot of non-counter in hand. This was a clear sign to me that the deck list had way too many bricks, and that I have to go back and take a look at the ratios. Finally, what's next for me? It's back to the drawing board for my deck list. Besides re-examining my deck's counter ratios, I already know what cards I'll be cutting in general, and what cards I'll be adding in next. Specifically, after playing against the other Green Yellow Yamato this week, I think it's about time I return to the Trigger Aggro build, but this time, updated with the new Starter Deck 28 cards. I was playing a similar deck list before when I first started my channel, and it's the archetype for Yamato that has topped a few regionals recently, so I'll be making some kind of version of it for next week. After trying this Trigger Aggro build though, I do want to start settling on what my Yamato deck list is going to be for now, so that I can focus on just getting more reps in with one deck list, since you have been seeing me just bounce between deck lists, which isn't always great for me. So I'll probably be playing Yamato for maybe 1 to 2 more weeks, depending on how the deck list is feeling, and then after that, I think it's about time to give Yamato a small vacation and try a different leader, finally. That's gonna do it for week 2 of the OP11 meta. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in week 3. Until next time, remember, keep your minds fresh and your spirits free. See ya!